in the first half of 2020, I've read quite a lot of stinkers. Hello everybody, this is your Nals Geek, and today we'll do a mid-year book freakout tag of 2020. The first half of 2020 was not that productive for me. I've read a lot of comic books, some short non-fiction about writing books, and there's some reviews that are coming along, and so I only read some 20 books in total. But whatever, let's get to the tags, alright? Question number 1. What is the best book you've read this year? And that's definitely The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I thought this book was amazingly written. The world was great. There is a review in the town for more information. I didn't quite find that it was my cup of tea, and I'm not that in a hurry to read the sequel, because it's a first book in a trilogy, and you know how I feel about them, but things were happening in this one. But I was awestruck by how good it was, and I have nothing more to say about it. It was great, a great book, and definitely worth the hype and the praise it gets. Question number 2. What is the best sequel? And I think this will be Nightwatch from Terry Pratchett. I did a reread of this book because I had forgotten I've read it, which is not that, I don't know, I mean, I forgot a book that I thought was a 5-star read, and I had a review video about it, and I don't know what to say. Maybe that Terry Pratchett books are also great, that they kind of, forget that one of them was great because the rest of them are great too. And definitely I need to read more Terry Pratchett in the next 6 months of 2020. Question number 3. A new release you haven't read yet. Oh, alright. A friend of mine, Mr. Alex Ichios, and we had an interview in this channel, has published a novel called Demon Maids earlier in 2020, and me being an awful friend, I have yet to read it. It's a Harem Gimlet, which is a genre I don't think I've ever read. I've read some little RPG, but not Harem, and I'm not sure it's my cup of tea, but of course you support friends. I bought the book. I read some of his swords, which were interesting mix of sword and sorcery with some game mechanics, and the way he described the book, that actually the fantasy world is real and the game elements are on top of it. I need to read more about the world building, and he's got a shared universe with many characters and many plot lines coming together, diverging, and I think Demon Maids would answer a lot of my questions. Question number 4. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. That's easy, that's Harry Dresden, the 2 Harry Dresden books. I have pre-ordered Pistox, and I hope that I'll have it by the middle of July, and I'll be able to do a review. It's a new Dresden after all those years, and considering I've binge read the entire Dresden series in 7 months, yeah, I'm getting some withdrawal symptoms for more Dresden, and there are 2 Dresdens coming, so this will be great. I hope Jim Butcher still has it, because all the Dresden files were so great. Question number 5. What was the biggest disappointment in the first half of 2020? Well, in the first half of 2020, I've read quite a lot of stinkers, but there were no disappointment. The disappointment for me was Michael Moorcock's End of All Songs. It wasn't a bad book, but was not quite as good as the first 2 in the trilogy, the Dances at the End of Time, and I had a review for the entire trilogy. What's the thing about this book? The thing is that I was expecting something different and something more upbeat and funny like the first 2 books, but it was much different, it was much more deep and detailed, and this probably should be a plus, but it was not for me. It was different from what I got to like in the first 2 books. So yes, I was disappointed despite having read some much worse books. Question number 6. What was the biggest surprise in 2020? And I think the 5th season was quite a surprise. I mean, I've heard the high praise for the book and how awesome it was, but I was like, I don't know, and then I read it and I said, wow, that's That's awesome. Question number 7. Favorite new author? I don't think I've read any new authors except for Enkit Jemisin. Maybe if I read another book of hers, I'll be like, yes, this is awesome, should read more. But I got a very healthy appreciation reading Chris Fox's non-fiction series, Faster, Write Smarter. I always get confused and misname the series. I've read the Write to Market book last year, or in 2018, I'm not sure, but reading through his entire series, because he put all the books in a very affordable price of $1 each, I got to appreciate what he was doing and his content and his writing style. And I've also gotten a couple of his box sets, which were also very cheap during the quarantine days, and it's the Void Wraith series and the Tech Made series, I guess, and probably I'll give them a read too. Not sure if I'll be able to read one of them during July. I don't know about the fiction, but the non-fiction part was very good, and there'll be some reviews coming during the next weeks. I'm planning to do reviews for the series around July, but enough of that. Let's go to question number 8. Newest fictional crush. Really? I mean, sorry, it's not me, I don't get crushes on book characters. However, I get the impression that I've got a crush on a character that I wrote in a novel I'm writing since November, and a funny thing is that she's not a love interest to the protagonist. She was just, a stock character, and she got personality that I liked, and I think she will get a much bigger role in the sequels. Really, it's weird being in love with the characters you write, and it's a trap for any book. They can take over the book, and that's bad, so I guess I'll turn my heart into stone and get out of love with her, I guess. Oh, that's writer problems. Don't worry about that. If you're not a writer, you're very, very lucky you don't have these problems. You can have crushes on fictional characters without any guilt, without any second thoughts, because love isn't fair when you're an author. Question number 9. Newest favorite character. And yes, it's not one of my characters, because come on, I'm the narcissist. I really appreciated a character that is nameless. I really liked the Continental Op from Dashiell Hammett's Red Harvest. I've read this book earlier in June, and I was like, yes, this guy is hardcore, and he's not a very dull character. He's just a self-detective tough guy, but he was so much fun, and I really like how effective he was, and how he was getting into trouble and out of it. And I think I have the Dane Cars somewhere in my bookshelves, and he's also there, so yes, I should definitely read this one soon. Question number 10. A book that made me cry. And listen, I'm a dude on the internet. I do not cry like all men. Men don't cry unless it is football. And when I say football, I mean the European football, what you American people call soccer, or the birth of a child. What men often get is this anime single manly tear. And I've read Spider-Man Life Story, which is a graphic novel by Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley. There is a review on the channel, and you know what, this graphic novel made me sad, single manly tear quite a few times. Because let's be fair, I grew up with these characters, and it was amazing to see them grow old and make decisions and pay for these decisions, because it's just a 6-issue miniseries and you don't have to keep them around for fans forever. So anybody dying remains dead. And as soon as I started reading the second issue, the second chapter in the graphic novel, yeah, here come the tears. If you like Spider-Man, go read this graphic novel. It will tear your heart apart. Question 11. A book that made you happy. and this is from another writer friend of mine, another Greek guy, Angelos Kyprianos. He self-published his second novel, Shipwreck of Karandra, on Amazon earlier in the first half of 2020. It's a pirate fantasy adventure. When it was the time to present his first book, I was one of the speakers. That's how I met him, actually, because I knew the publicist of his publishing house, and she wanted me to talk about the book, and it was quite interesting, and this one definitely delivers. It was vastly improved from his first novel. Something that Angelos does quite well is his world building. He's a role-playing game designer too, and a musician. His world building is exquisite. You read his novel and you hear about these faraway places and myths and legends, and you just want to see them. And they may be secondary or just maybe mentions, but you feel you read about a living, breathing fantasy world, and that's quite a feat. And him delivering such a good book made me quite happy, because he had all the potential. His first novel it had some issues. I'll leave a link for it below so you can give it a look and maybe give it a read too. Question number 12. Most beautiful book I got. I didn't buy a lot of books in the first 6 months of 2020 because I was at home. But I got this one, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. That book is beautiful. I got this edition because I love the cover and the patchwork on the hero, and that's kind of interesting because the main character wears a coat like that with many sides, and it was a very interesting book. But I thought it had some issues. There will be a review and maybe a live stream with Ian Lassay and Robert Jones, the story detective. I'm not sure, we cannot set a date because we have some very hectic schedules, but I hope we'll do that eventually. Question 13. Books I need to read by the end of the year. Definitely the 2 Dresden books. I've got to read them. And you know what, if you think that there are other books I should read in the second half of 2020, leave a comment with the titles below. I'll listen to all your suggestions, and I'll happily read those I can read, actually, because as you can see, I've got quite a few books behind me and I haven't read most of them yet. But yeah, I'd love to hear your suggestions. I mean, maybe I should put them on the fast lane and do videos about them if you're interested. So that was my mid-year book freakout tag. 20 books is no freakout. I'm way behind, but yes, the staying at home didn't help me with my reading, and the stingers I've read definitely didn't help with my reading. Have you felt like tossing a book behind you? Because I did for one of them, and it on camera. That was my tag, and as always, feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment with suggestions on what to read or any opinions if you read any of the books I mentioned here. And as always, thank you for watching. Have fun!